Thank you, Diane. You know, a few minutes ago I talked about when, we sat around and said somebody needs to lead. Well, most of you probably were not very familiar with Job Creators Network until recently. The ones that are in the weeds knew who they were because they were doing such great work. If you don't know, it was founded by a gentleman named Bernie Marcus. He's head of Home Depot, one of my favorite stores. When I go there, I get lost for hours. They've received significant funding from a lot of foundations because their mission is so great. And I'm going to let Alfredo tell you about that. However, just like the 603 Alliance, JCN has stepped up and led. When I've said JCN or Alfredo's name, people tend to go, and I go, the billboards. And everybody goes, oh, yeah, I know, I saw that guy on TV. So without further ado, and I hope there is a billboard coming to New Hampshire soon, but without further ado, Mr. Alfredo Ortiz from Job Creators Network.
So the guidebooks say, and I promised Daddy I wouldn't miss on any, and we have just one day, gotta see the whole town right from Yonkers on down to the Bay. In just one day, New York, a visitor's place where no one lives on account of the pace. Let's have
good beat to it. Hello everybody, good morning. How are you? I am the President and CEO of Job Creators Network, and there is some material on your desks, or excuse me, on your tables there that talks a little bit more specifically about Job Creators Network. I'm going to go through a little bit of who we are and what we do and why we're doing it. I also got some a couple videos that I'm going to be playing for you guys, but really we're all here because we believe in one fundamental thing: freedom and freedom and freedom, right? And this is literally the fight that we decided we're going to take on overall, this socialism versus capitalism fight. I think the one thing I'll say that the Democrats have done extremely well on this fight for socialism on their end is they have, amongst millennials especially, they've been able to equate socialism equals social good. That is what they have been able to do. And that is completely wrong. Anybody who actually understands what socialism is, who fled a socialist country, just gets disgusted with what the Democrats are doing with this definition. So what we're hoping at Job Creators Network, in addition to all the great things that our founder, Bernie Marcus, believes in, and we're executing against that vision of his, this is one of the most important things. And we applaud and salute the President of the United States, Donald Trump, because at that State of the Union address, he made it very clear, and he drew that line in the sand, that socialism in this country has no room. And we couldn't agree more on that statement. The one thing, though, that I would say on that, isn't it sad that a president of the United States actually has to now make that statement at a State of the Union? Right? This is the state of affairs that we're in at this point in this country, and this rising tide of socialism is not just fear-mongering, as the left media would say. This is true. This is really happening, and we're seeing this amongst our millennials, which is very, very sad. And again, we're going to try to do the best we can. I am now being called the billboard guy, just so you know. Mike Lindell, we're working with Mike Lindell, who is, Mr. Pillow, right? And so he goes, perfect, just keep calling yourself that. It worked for me, so just keep calling yourself the billboard guy. So anyways, we're going to go through this. And again, hopefully everybody has seen these billboards. If not, you're going to see them in a second. I'm quickly going to lay this out here in terms of what we do again. We're a national small business advocacy organization that really fundamentally believes in free enterprise. What we call ourselves is a do tank, not really a think tank. There are plenty of wonderful think tanks out in this country, and especially in DC. We'd like to call ourselves a do tank. And the one thing that we also do is we create content for employers. We fundamentally believe that employers, especially small and medium-sized employers, have an opportunity to have honest to goodness dialogue with their employees. I don't care if they're Democrats, Independents, or Republicans, right? They have an opportunity, and in some cases really what I would call a responsibility to have these conversations with their employees about how policies impact their pocketbooks and their livelihoods day in and day out. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. It's called what we call employer-to-employee education. We talk about small businesses a lot at Job Creators Network, and this is why. Nobody probably knows this statement more than how important small business is to our country. I believe in New Hampshire, 99.9% of businesses are considered small businesses in New Hampshire. When you look at it overall as a country, there are 30 million small business owners in this country that employ about 60 million hardworking Americans. That's a block of 90 million people. I mean, this is an unbelievable number, but I have to tell you, just about 3 years ago when we started really pushing on the small business piece, I can't tell you how many members of Congress didn't know this was true. Very, very scary. They do now know that this is true. I love Newt, right? I don't know who here doesn't, but I love Newt. This is my favorite saying that people talk about us, right? Job Creators Network is the most impactful organization you haven't heard of. I'm actually really okay with that. We love being behind the scenes as much as we can. Now we're a little bit above the radar, I have to admit. And I get all the love emails to prove that. But really, you know, Newt Gingrich and I really teamed up a couple of years ago to really fight for the tax cut. And we're going to talk about the tax cut fight. But really, great American, as you know. He's been there, done that, and he continues to fight the fight. And we couldn't be happier about partnering with Newt on a lot of the different initiatives that we've got going on. Does anybody know who this is? Ooh, that's right, that's right. I call her the gift that keeps on giving. And in fact, she continues to keep, I just got a text, I guess she said something about using some poem, an anti-Semitic poem to defend Omar, Representative Omar. It's unbelievable. Every single day there's something that comes from her, multiple times a day. But anyways, she's the gift that keeps on giving. And like I said, we're the billboard guys. This is what we did. Thank you. So for those of you who don't know the story, and hopefully all of you know, Amazon went through this process and picked New York as one of their sites for their expansion of their headquarters. They call it HQ2. They were going to bring 25,000 plus jobs at about 150,000 per job to New York State, specifically Long Island City. Governor Cuomo, Mayor de Blasio, and the representative of that particular district and others worked really hard to fight for that, got it, celebrating, except one person thought it was a bad idea, truly. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC as we all love to call her, and she loves to call herself. And she thought it was a bad idea, so she made a lot of noise, and a lot of people were upset about it and stuff like that, and protesting. And you know what Amazon said? If this is my honeymoon phase, bringing 25,000 jobs to this city, to the state, see ya, right? You really can't blame them, right? If this is literally what it was going to be like at the beginning, what was it going to be like as they move forward? So we thought it was pathetic. And then on Valentine's Day, she was spiking the football, AOC, about how, look how great, what we can do together to fight these horrible capitalists, all right? So we said, this is ridiculous. We somehow have to fight it. The following week on Tuesday, this is the ad we came up with. It was opportunistic in nature, and we went for it, right? 25,000 New York City jobs, lost New York City jobs, $4 billion in lost wages, $12 billion in lost economic activity in New York. Thanks for nothing, AOC. And I'll tell you where the $12 billion of economic activity come, and this is why it's so important small businesses are, right? Because that is where that economic activity would have come from. We estimated that for every single job that was being created, about 4 or 5 other jobs would have been created along with it downstream. Think about it. Think about the dry cleaners, the pizza guys, the deli guys, all the related economic activity that comes to serving each and every single one of those employees and that entire headquarters. Think about the hundreds of union jobs that were lost because union jobs were going to be needed to build the actual headquarters, right? So this is what she caused. So this actually got some attention, which we were pretty excited about. And here is the best thing of all. She responded to us. A word of advice for anybody running for office, do not do that, okay? Bad choice. So here's what she said. A few things: effectively communicate the power we built in fighting dark money, because we're dark money, which we're not, just so you know. And anti-worker policies like billionaire-funded groups blowing tons of cash on these billboards. Okay, so this was her response to us. It happened at 6 in the morning. She tweeted this out. And my first call was to my communications officer, literally at 6 a.m. And what I said to her was, I'm like, she responded, we are on. And so literally at 6:15, I had the team on a call, and we were scrambling to get something up. And opportunistically, there was an opportunity to get this billboard, and so we bought it. And this is what it said. Right? So we responded right back within hours of her tweet. So needless to say, she actually hasn't responded to anything we've actually now said, which was probably smart. But you can see there, hey, AOC, saw your whack tweet. Because like so much like totally like, it was a good idea. And so we said, you know, because she claimed that we spent tons and tons of cash, right, on these billboards. So we actually, on this particular billboard, I was a small business owner, by the way, so I like deals. I like opportunistic things. This opportunistically literally came our way. Call it a godsend, call it whatever you want, but opportunistically, we jumped on it. The billboard that billboard that you previously saw cost us specifically $4,200, $4,200. Okay, she claimed tons and tons of cash putting billboards up. So I said, well, hey, AOC, basically, this billboard cost us about $4,000, but you just cost New York City about $4 billion in lost wages. So.
Croc TV.